And Jalen Hurts, he does have a problem right now with, pre-snap reads and knowing where to go with the ball and throwing the ball and throwing a guy open. Um, he hasn't got to that point yet where he's throwing guys open. You have to teach a young guy that. And Jalen, he's a hard worker. He eventually will get it, but does he have that time? Does he have enough leash to do it? I doubt seriously if he does. So he's going to have to take it upon himself to go through these quarterback schools and go to these quarterback coaches and, get as in tune as he can with what he brings to the table, his intangibles, and maybe that'll help him along. But he's got to go out and make things happen, because if he doesn't, they're going to find somebody quick. I mean, those 3 first-round picks are burning a hole in Howie's pocket.
Birds 365 with the Mac and Mac. Go ahead and like the show. You should like it even more right now. Push that like button, because you got one of your fellow JAKIB Media guys hanging with us. The big man, Barrett Brooks, jumps aboard here on Birds 365. You don't have a college football game to do this weekend, do you, Barrett?
No, it's all over with, man.
Or Utah, or North Dakota, or South Dakota. You're staying put right here in the Delaware Valley, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm glad I am, man. I do want to get out to the Senior Bowl if I could, man, but it doesn't look like anybody's sending me, so we'll see.
Yeah, the Senior Bowl's always fun. East-West Shrine Bowl's getting a little bit more play because the NFL Network, I think it's the East-West Shrine game.
Yeah, I played in that. I played the East-West Shrine game in the Senior Bowl my last year in the league.
Yeah, those are always interesting. And the Senior Bowl is obviously really where the draft stuff starts to kick in. But before we get to the draft, B, I want to talk to you about the press conference earlier this week and Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni. And we got to start with the quarterback because that's the biggest offseason question. And, it's pretty emphatic. This is going to be our guy moving forward. They did leave the door slightly ajar. Russell Wilson drops in their lap or Deshaun Watson. But other than that, which is unlikely, Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy. Jody and I were talking about it. To me, it's a difficult decision for the Eagles because we know what Jeffrey Lurie believes, and he believes to win consistently, you need the high-powered passing offense. Can they still get that with Jalen Hurts, or do they have to build around Jalen Hurts to continue to prove and do it in a more unique fashion because he's a unique player?
He's a unique player, but I will say this. I think all the kids that are coming out now have to adjust to the NFL, and they come from spread offenses, and that's different from when Marino was coming out, Montana was coming out, even Ben Roethlisberger's coming out. They changed up. They changed up to these spread offenses, so you don't have to read defenses. So everybody's having a problem right now. From first round pick last year to Jalen Hurts. They're not taught to really go out and get that pre-snap read that guys like Brady had when they were leaving the league. Rodgers had it. They're taught right now just to go out there, spread the offense out. The defense has to play it a certain way, and if it's man, it's man. If it's zone, it's zone. They're not really throwing guys open. These guys are open because the effects of how wide they are, and all these quarterbacks come from drop back pass type of quarterback. So it's not just Jalen. It's a lot of these quarterbacks, even Kyler Murray. I mean, you talk to Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is saying just this year he's really learned how to read defenses, how to see where the ball and pre-snap read is going to help him out. I think that Jalen will work hard and become that guy, because, look at Brady. Brady said, why would I retire? I have all the answers to the test. He said he wants to play till he's 50 years old. Against the Eagles, he looked back, he looked at him. As soon as he got to the line, he knew exactly where he was going with the ball. That's why all those passes were
real quick, Art, why don't coaches want that? Why don't coaches want that? Is it just because it's too difficult in the current environment? Because as you mentioned, they're not getting that training at the college level. So it's got to come at the pro level. Is it just because they don't have enough time to do it? Is it just because they don't have enough patience? I'm sure you saw the clip. I mean, there was that Tampa Bay. I don't know who it was. It wasn't Todd Bowles, but one of their position coaches on the sidelines imploring his defense. This guy can't read. This guy can't read. And he's not talking about, fourth grade English. He's talking about he can't read defenses. Keep on him. Keep on him. Keep on him. When you see something that coming from the opposition, does that change your mentality when you're talking about Jalen Hurts, or is it just where we are in the NFL?
I think it's where we are in the NFL. And Jalen Hurts, he does have a problem right now with, pre-snap reads and knowing where to go with the ball and throwing the ball and throwing a guy open. He hasn't got to that point yet where he's throwing guys open. You have to teach a young guy that. And Jalen, he's a hard worker. He eventually will get it, but does he have that time? Does he have enough leash to do it? I doubt seriously if he does. So he's going to have to take it upon himself to go through these quarterback schools and go to these quarterback coaches and, get as in tune as he can with what he brings to the table, his intangibles, and maybe that'll help him along. But he's got to go out and make things happen, because if he doesn't, they're going to find somebody quick. I mean, those 3 first-round picks are burning a hole in Howie's pocket. And just from what you see happening down in Houston, I mean, one of the cases got leaked where he paid one of the girls off, and it was like $100,000. So paying us like $2.5 million for him, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing for him. And of course, he's got to sit out a couple games at the most. The max probably be 10 games. So, of course, they're going to turn that stone over. Howie likes to be nosy. He likes to covet other people's toys. So why wouldn't he go out there and do it? I mean, and he should, if he's trying to make this team better, he should. But at the end of the day, Hurts can help himself if he goes out there and learns what he needs to learn. If he doesn't, then that's on him. It's his fault. But they've given him another year. He needs to take advantage of it. So if he can't read a defense going into this year, it'll be a problem. And, they'll see it in camp if he's not.
Barrett, when I found out we were going to have you, I said, I know the exact question I want to ask him. I call you our brother from another mother. You're on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. One that might be even more applicable is B. Brooks, offensive lineman, currently on the Philadelphia Eagles roster, not the former that we're talking to here today. Brandon Brooks, intriguing, interesting answer given at the press conference the other day about they needed him to be healthy throughout the entire offseason, that they didn't push him. They didn't rush him back. They want him to have an offseason where he's doing nothing other than getting ready, not in a rehab mode as he's been way too often during his Eagle tenure. That sounds like a guy that they want back contributing for him next year. But there's a whole bunch of indicators that point to that probably not being the case, including this rumor that Brandon Brooks may retire. You're an offensive lineman. You're an Eagle. You might even be buds with Brandon Brooks. Were you surprised by the way the Eagles verbally handled the questions on Brandon Brooks the other day?
No, not actually. Just looking at, Father Tom, he's undefeated. And Brandon also understands, where he is in his career. The body, he came in the best shape I've ever seen an offensive lineman come in, for the past couple of years. I mean, he actually came in, looking more like a defensive end than a linebacker, than an offensive lineman. So, he did everything possible to get in the best shape of his life. He was in optimal shape. He went out, he was doing martial arts, stretching, had everything that he needed to do. It's just, bad luck, the luck of the draw. He rips a tendon, and what is it? It was in his chest, his arm.
Yeah, his pec.
His pec. So he rips that, and that's a common injury. Just like now, Achilles are common, and people come back from them healthier. It won't be a problem, but at least he's coming back. He's going to be healthy. Now they want him there. I mean, he's a top 5 guard in the league. Of course they want him there, but financially, does it make sense? Considering the fact that, if you look at pay for play, I don't know if it equals, what they necessarily feel or deem it to be worth it. I mean, that's the big deal. Is he going to take less money? Maybe they try to work something out. But at this point, I mean, he's good in the aspect that he has a lot of money still guaranteed on his contract. But does he want to continue to play. You know, as an older player, it starts sneaking in. Should I play? I know my last 2 or 3 years, the only reason I played is I won a Super Bowl, and my kids started really taking an interest in football. Once they did that, you know, I said, all right, I'll stick around a little more. I'd probably still be playing. I'd probably be like Brady if I could, you know. I mean, I would still love to be playing, but, you know, it's just father time.
With that one, Barrett. Offensive linemen and quarterbacks, shelf lives are a little bit different. You guys take a beating. The way they protect quarterbacks these days, yeah, you can play to your 40. Offensive line. I know Whitworth is Whitworth, but that's a tough ass.
Right. Or my name is not Matthews, you know. Those guys played forever, but if he can come back and he's going to take a little less money, they renegotiate, and they've done it before. I think he will be back. Do they want him back? Of course they want him back, but does it make dollars and cents for him to come back? At this point, I think it doesn't.
Barrett, I want to go back to your early days in your playing career, because I love another one of those clips. I love when players are mic'd up because you can really get some stuff. And Tampa Bay had Ryan Jensen mic'd up, who's you know, a big, powerful center.
He's my favorite.
Yeah,
my favorite.
He's great offensive lineman, one of the most underrated offensive linemen. So-called old man strength, they call it in the league. You got to grow. You got to get there. You know, Milton Williams, a guy we talked about, has tremendous potential, tremendous explosion off the football. But they had Ryan stalemate and said, you got to get stronger. And is that just natural for every defensive and offensive lineman when they hit the NFL? They just gotta grow into their bodies to get these guys who've been there, and just, you know, because Trent Williams, Ryan Jen, those players are like, and on the defensive side of the ball, Linval Joseph, I know Jason Kelsey used to always tell me how strong that guy was. Vita Vea, just this week. Is that something everybody goes through?
Yes, it is. It's you know, I equated when I first got in the league, you know, and the first time I played against Mr. White. You guys call him Reggie White, but I'm playing against Mr. White. And I equated playing to him, playing like, you know, when I was 5 years old, and my old man used to grab me and I knew I was grabbed. That's the way I felt with Mr. White. You know, he nicest guy in the world. And, you know, I can remember I was battling, man. We were going back and forth. We were battling. Well, I was battling the entire game. And it's the game that we lost 10-9. But at that point, you know, we were up. It was like maybe they got up by 1 point, because at the end of the game, he said, "Hey, Brooks, you've been having a great game, but hey, I'm gonna have to go hard these last 3 times." I'm like, "What?" And I've given every ounce of my body, every ounce of my soul on this field. And he said, "I'm gonna go hard now." So a sack and a half later, you know, we end up losing the game because of me. So, but that's kind of the same thing. And Jensen, I love Jensen because he's the nastiest player in the league. He's going to block from whistle to whistle. He's going to tell you about it. I mean, and of course Brady loves him, because this guy will run through a stone, brick, whatever wall for him. So yeah, he's got that old man strength. And yes, I understand what that young guy what he was telling that young guy, man, you got to get stronger, man, because, you know, you got to be able to rough and tussle with these guys. And he was definitely giving him everything he wanted. He was also giving Hargrave everything he wanted also, Fletcher Cox. We didn't hear Fletcher Cox much, did we? And that's because that offensive line was doing their deed on the inside. Outside was different. Yeah. You know, but in the inside,
you bring up, you know, Ryan had to go in the injury tent, and you bring up, and I joke, he was in there for a while, hurt his knee, and he came out like a bull coming out of a rodeo chute. I mean, he just came out of that thing like, I'm going back in. Yeah.
They tried to take his helmet. He was pissed because they tried to take his helmet. Like, no, you're not. He ran back on the field. They didn't want him to go back on the field. Yeah. He ran back on the field himself. Like, you know, you're not stopping this. You can't stop the rain. I'm going in anyways, you know. So that's his mentality. That's why I love watching him play, man. He's a finisher.
Barrett, I apologize in advance, and I'm going back into the offensive line to ask you a question. But when we get a real-life NFL offensive lineman on the show, we kind of like to ask these type of questions because I'll tell you, the Eagles may be doing something in the next couple months that's going to annoy the snot out of me. we had Dave Zingaro, your buddy from NBC Sports Philly, on earlier in the week, and he mentioned that one of the guys from his website was thinking about the possibility of Eagles taking an offensive lineman with one of their first-round draft picks. I think that's ludicrous. I think the strength of the team is the offensive line. The 5 that were supposed to start the year, the guys who were interceded in to start when injuries touched up the guard position as badly as they did. The other guys coming in and even playing well when it was the practice squad against the Dallas Cowboys the last week of the season. The offensive line did a pretty good job. They didn't lose that game because of the offensive line. They lost that game because the Cowboys' offense went nuts against the Eagle backup defenders. They can't really use a first-round pick on an offensive lineman again this year. If Kelsey's coming back, and I know that's a big assumption, nobody knows for sure yet, but if Kelsey is their center again, Brandon Brooks probably gone, any other machinations that could happen, could they really use a first-round pick on an offensive lineman again this year?
If it was, it would be an interior guy, and you don't draft interior guys that high in the draft. Since I've been in the league, or since I was playing, you really don't do that. You draft tackles usually high in the league, high in the draft. But if anything, I do assume they are looking for a guard. Not just to replace Brandon Brooks, but they need a guard to come in, and really solidify things. Because I think Seumalo will be the future center. They'll leave Dickerson alone, leave him at the right, that left guard position, and then move Seumalo into center. I think that's what they're going to do. But if they do draft high, it'll have to be a guard. I like the guard from Mississippi State. I was looking at the film on him. Kenyon Green, really good, phenomenal guard. I like him. He's going to go late first, even early second. If they pick him up in the second round, I can see them making that happen. But I don't see them going in the first round. In fact, if you look at it, they're going to get an edge rusher. I think they're going to get an edge rusher, and they might get a corner, and then trade the first round pick for next year. So they'll have 2 first round picks for next year. I think that's more of what Howie would do. There's no way that they spend all 3 picks. I wish they would, because I would go get 2 edge rushers and a linebacker. But that'd be too much like right. That'd be too much like going in the right direction.
See, he's an offensive lineman who's not crazy about offensive. It doesn't always have to be about the offensive line. Barrett's ready to take 3 defensive players. Exactly right.
But they're not going to do it, though.
Yeah, they're not going to do it. I live in the real world, not in the gumdrop forest. Where they're going to take a linebacker. We have, take it for what you will, Barrett, but we have the term front runner thrown out there by ESPN, Dan Graziano, I believe, specifically, about Jonathan Gannon and the Houston Texans. Is this a big loss for the Eagles? We know the disconnect for the fan base and JG. If he does get one of these head coaching jobs, how much will that affect his team?
We would be so lucky. What you do is, I would like that to happen, just simply because it doesn't seem like Coach Sirianni wants to go to that side of the field during game type situations, or really be involved with the defensive side of the ball. And I think you need a more veteran guy in there, to settle things down. Yeah, exactly. To settle things down, and it seems like, you get you a former head coach, it settled things down. You look at what happened in Dallas, it settled things down. You look at what's going on in with the Rams, settles things down. Former head coach, even though it's only for a hot second, but he's a guy that's a former head coach with a young coach. Same thing in that's going on with Arizona. You got a former head coach that's he can handle his side of the locker room, and I think that they need to go in the same way. Let's go out and get one of those snarly old guys, like Denver's ex-head coach and Minnesota's
Fangio. Yeah, Vic would be great, but everybody wants Vic Fangio.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's just my Christmas wish list. I want somebody that can handle things as an older guy that can solidify things, calm things down a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. So all he has to do is make a call. Hey, Can you dial up a couple blitzes as opposed to going down there and looking there and like, hey man, you're gonna do something? You're gonna try to be aggressive, please.
But Barrett, let me throw this at you. Let me flesh this out with you. Nick Sirianni's a very young coach. Let's say the Eagles get off to a poor start next year, and you got Vic Fangio sitting there as the defensive coordinator, and you got Jeffrey Lurie's got an itchier trigger finger as he gets older. Is that comfortable for you as a young head coach to have that kind of cachet as the defensive coordinator, the top assistant on the team?
It worked for Doug, and it's working for a lot of other people in the league. But I know that they wouldn't go in that direction. I know they won't go in that direction because they want an offensive-minded team.
Well,
so
that's true.
They wouldn't go in that direction. They wouldn't ask them to take over. What they would do, it would put a little more heat on Nick. But I think Nick needs a little heat on him. I think he needs to be more aggressive in what's going on that side of the ball, because it's something, because he's an offensive coach, a wide receiver coach, and our wide receivers got worse as the season going on. So I didn't understand what the hell is going on.
Yes.
So how they get worse, when he's supposed to be a guru on that, and he spent a lot of time with those guys. So that correlation didn't sit well with me. But at the end of the day, you look at what this team is. They got better on the defensive side. They started to get better against bad quarterbacks, but at least it's a start. A good quarterback comes in, he might pick us apart, but at the end of the day, he's got to make sure that he can solidify, that defense. Or if Gannon stays, Gannon has become more aggressive, because you take on the mindset of who's coaching you. And if you're not coaching aggressive, those guys tend not to be as aggressive on how they're, entering plays, and they need to be more aggressive, period.
All right. I might not be Dan Graziano of ESPN, but I'll tell you right now who the next coach of the Houston Texans is going to be.
Josh McCown?
Correct. Eagle tie, yes. Their present-day defensive coordinator, no. Former Eagle quarterback Josh McCown will be the next coach of the Texans.
Yeah, this is the second time they tried to serenade him.
Yeah,
they did, but they knew it was a little early last year. So
right.
Everybody and his brother called their head coach a bridge quarterback. Well, what do you think the bridge was for? To get a year of Josh McCown closer to the job. Just remember, you heard that here first.
I advocated, by the way, real quick, Jody. I advocated the Eagles, Doug Peterson, make Josh McCown his offensive coordinator when they forced him to fire Mike Groh. That guy. People think about this. Think about Derek Fisher in the NBA. People always go, and I'll throw this at you, Barrett, as well, and Jody. Derek Fisher, people would say, well, this guy's got no experience. This guy's got no experience. That's what they say with Josh McCown. He played 20 stinking years in the league. Why is that not experience? Why is that not considered experience as opposed to a guy, and I'm not picking on Nick Sirianni, but he's coaching at Mount Union and IUP as opposed to playing at the highest level where you're going? Why is that not experience?
You're absolutely right. Look at what's going on with the Nets. Steve Nash. They brought him in last year. Yeah. He hadn't really coached at all.
A day in his life.
Right. And he's coaching, some great players. That's exactly why they need to go out and get him. They want to go young. They want to go very young. Look, they even interviewed Hines Ward. I know it's like a favor for somebody, but that's as young as you can get, because he's a wide receiver coach at a Florida school. So, I see the direction they're going. They want the respect factor of somebody that's been in the game, somebody that knows what's going on from a player standpoint. I totally get it. And he would definitely change the culture, and he'd be a great coach, kind of like what, the Titans have going on now. You take on the identity of your coach, and he's an aggressive coach, and I could see, making that team jump with leaps and bounds, and, it'll be their guy. So I can see that definitely happening. But I wouldn't be mad if they came and got Gannon from us. I wouldn't be mad at all. Just to let you know.
Ready to move on from the defense quarter. John and I are bigger fans than you are. That's pretty obvious. All right. One of the things that I wasn't all that pleased about the other day was and again, like John and I discussed in the first segment, ain't change your mind tomorrow. You said that you're not under oath, so you can come up with a mind change. They gave pretty good backing to Jalen Reagor. I'm ready to move on from Jalen Reagor. I'm on record as saying Jalen Reagor should never play another snap in an Eagle uniform, but that's just me. If they are going to bring him back, we talked here on the show about what Jalen Hurts is going to do during this offseason, who he's going to work with, where he's going to work out, what skill set is he looking to improve. How do you go about doing that? What did they do with Jalen Reagor? Who does he work out with this? If they're going to bring him back and they still think it's him, that's what the coach said. The talent is there. They just need to get it out of him. Well, how do you raise that talent? How do you make him better at the things that he's not good enough right now? Who do you think is there a wide receiver guru in the offing for Jalen Reagor this offseason?
Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, but see, he can't go because of the CBA. You can't have interaction between the players. You get in trouble for that.
I think it's tongue-in-cheek, man. But I and this is not meant to be funny or anything, but he needs to go see a sports psychologist more so than what his physical prowess is. Physically, he's got everything, every tool that you need. He's quick, he's fast, he's explosive. He has all that stuff. But the NFL is 80% mental and 20% physical. And the mental aspect of the game just hasn't caught on with him yet. He needs to go and talk to somebody and settle down and mentally get on the right page. He's just not on the right page. He just can't get out of his own way. And that's what's wrong with him. It's nothing physically. It's all mental. And he's not mentally tough enough right now to go out there and be the wide receiver or whatever gadget player or whatever you want to call him that they need to go out there and be successful. He just doesn't have it, the mindset to be great. I mean, he has so much self-doubt. He doesn't feel as though he's wanted. And that's because at this point, he doesn't want himself. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do. The coaching staff tried everything they could to make sure this kid would be successful. They tried to force feed him the ball. They've done everything to try to make him a player. He just didn't take it and run with it. You only got a small amount of time to maximize your potential in the NFL. And I think that his leash is very short right now. So he's going to have to go get some help from somebody to really get on the right page, to get his mind tied in with the rest of his body. Because right now they're just, they're totally separate. It's just not tied together. His mindset right now isn't to really be successful in football. He's just trying to stay. You can't just stay in the NFL. You got to progressively get better in the NFL.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Barrett, because people look at Jalen Reagor and people who haven't played the game like you did, kind of go a little bit overboard in criticizing his abilities. I mean, we go back to training camp. I think you were there that day when he made the one-handed catch, and people joke, it's training camp, it's training camp. Whatever. There ain't a lot of people in the world that can make that catch that he made. The kid's got talent, but the mental part of it, he's got no confidence.
None whatsoever.
Destroyed. And I don't know how you rebuild it. So it's a good point. Sports psychologists, a lot of people, maybe somebody like Lane Johnson and the mental health issues, maybe more open, not mindedness can help Jalen Reagor, but he's got talent. I mean, I don't understand these people who say he's got no talent and yell at me when I say he's got talent. The kid's got talent. What am I going to do? Lie to you? Yeah.
He wouldn't be there if he didn't have talent. I'm looking at the stream, and I think his name was it Habib Bask. He said Jalen Reagor has the Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons syndrome. That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. Yeah. I mean, it was almost like the yips. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just needs his mind to get tied into the rest of his body. And people really don't understand how the NFL is 80% mental. It's easy to get there, but it's harder to stay there. And
it's not easy to get there. It's easy for you guys.
Right.
McDonald wasn't a factor. No.
Right. But if he could tie those two together, he'd be amazing. Because some people have the exact opposite. Hines Ward was the exact opposite. Hines Ward had no ACLs. He didn't play. He played with no ACLs, but yet his mind took over and his body just came along for the ride. He was slow as pond water, but he was always open. He was always making plays. A fierce competitor, because mentally you cannot keep him out of the game. Mentally, he would not be denied. If you take Hines Ward's brain and put it into, his body, he'd be one of the best players you've ever seen, but he just needs to get tied in mentally. He doesn't have the mental capacity right now. And not saying that he's dumb or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with his confidence and really pulling out those gifts that he has in his body. His mind is just is capable of doing it right now. I think it's the exact opposite of what you have with J-Jaw. Same thing with J-Jaw. J-Jaw just did not bring his body along with his mind. He wasn't mentally tough enough to go out there and make plays the way he should make them. And that's, that little difference. I played 12 years in the NFL, not because I was the most gifted, but more so because I just would not be denied. There was times I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go run 2 miles just because I know nobody in my hemisphere was doing that. Nobody was doing that. That kept me in the league for a long time because I worked out when nobody worked out. I made sure that I focused to know the plays as well as anybody in the league. I could coach those plays now. I still know, you got zone front side, read or reach, backside, you got to make sure you cut off, leave one. All those things stay in my mind because I made sure I knew the intangibles. I knew exactly what I needed to stay there. I knew I was going to fight to stay there, and I made it hard on people to not keep me there.
All right, speaking of the stream, I got to give Just Chill 76 a nod, who said Reagor needs to spend the offseason with Brooks. See if he can catch a fish before he tries to catch a football. Right. Whatever happened to your fishing rod? I know Derek Gunn is now with us here on JAKIB Media. Used to be your old fishing part. What? Ray Diddy wouldn't go out and fish with you?
No, Ray's not.
To go out and fish with you? What the hell happened to your fishing rod?
He's too busy out there writing notes. He'd be taking notes on how to fish instead of
he'd
fishing,
have his legal pad out there talking about the fish.
And Seth is not doing anything but golfing, so Seth is not going out.
That's why I didn't put Seth in there. I was going along the Diddy Barkan route. Yes, Seth's got other things to do than go fishing with you.
Right.
All right, last thing, Barrett. We know it's a football Friday. Not necessarily for the Eagles because they won't be playing. The playoffs this weekend, specific game you want to watch, guy you want to watch, guy you think this is the first step to the Super Bowl. What are you going to be checking out on the football action this weekend and the divisional round weekend?
All I'm going to say is yes to everything because I can't wait for these matchups.
Best weekend of the year. Best
teams, no question. Everywhere you look, man, it's a great game. All these games that we're about to watch could actually be championship games. So, I can't wait, man. Of course, I'm gonna be dialed in on Brady, and if he can go out there and play against this great defense, because that defense of the Rams, they've turned it around again. They finally gelled and are getting hot at the right time. So that game, and I want to see what the Young Buck is going to do. Cincinnati, how they're going to go against that great defense. And the Titans, man, they're getting that man back. They'll get that man again. He's back now. Henry being back really changes how you defend them. So this is just going to be great football. I'm just going to get my popcorn ready, have my wings going, my pizza going, and I'm going to have 2 solid days of just watching football.
Barrett, enjoy. We appreciate you coming on with us today. Check him out on the middle with Is Harry May still busting your shot? If you need me to,
it goes without saying, man. If you need me to
throw one Harry's way, I'll kick his ass for you. That's not a problem. There aren't too many guys whose ass I can kick. Harry Mays happens to be one of them. So if you just feel that would be unfair, you against Harry, it needs to be more of a fair. Just tell me. I
think it's unfair for you to go against Harry because you might whip him too, man. So
I will whip him too. But at least with me, it'd be a fair fight. You're not a fair fight against any other JAKIB Media brethren. So we need to keep you above the fray in that way. Barrett, good stuff. Thanks, brother.
Thanks
Appreciate
a lot,
much.
Thanks, Barrett.
Barrett Brooks from the middle, NBC Sports Philly, here with us on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, the Mac Birds 365 show. All right, coming back. We got another guest to join us in hour number 2. Clark Judge from the Talk of Fame Network. Good guy. We've had him on before. One of the best overall National Football League writers in the country. we like to do this from time to time, or maybe I shouldn't speak for John, at least I do.
Oh,
like to get someone on who's not
national
bred and gives you the Philly perspective. We, from time to time, probably get a little narrow focused on the Birds because we talk about them every single day. You get a different look from a guy who's just watching them from afar on a national focus. Clark Judge will give that to us next hour here on Birds 365.